You long for the carefree days of physical education (PE) when you were 5 feet tall and surrounded by friends. Danny DeVito's life story is tragic, and he's 80 years old now. A message from his mom that she would never want him. Every time his dad drank at night, he became furious. The authorities were summoned to Danny's home no less than 17 times prior to his 15th birthday. However, that isn't the most terrible aspect. Over the years, Danny has concealed a terrible secret. He suffers from a rare illness that causes him immense pain on a daily basis. He got a hefty sum from Hollywood to alter his appearance and undergo plastic surgery. In response, he set fire to the document. At age 80, the truth about his suffering is emerging. At first, Danny DeVito had it tough. In 1944, he came into this world in Neptune, New Jersey. From the very beginning, the odds were against him. Their mother, Julius, was 40 years old and a veteran of many children's households. "Please, just one more," she said. After some time had passed, she finally admitted to him, "I didn't want him, but I'm so proud of him." While this confession would have crushed most people, Danny channeled her feelings into greater determination. That early rejection lingered with him like a cloud throughout his childhood, and he never fully recovered from it. He remained unfazed by it, though. Continued he. His significance needed to be demonstrated. However, his troubles did not conclude at that point. Domestic life was difficult to organize. His dad, Daniel Sr., was a pleasant guy when they were both at work. His Asbury Park candy store was well liked by the locals. The change came about as the light faded and the effects of the drink began to fade. He became agitated, aggressive, and even violent. As an example, Daniel picked up on the sound of bottles breaking and noticed a change in his dad's gait as clues. Various times he would hide in closets and then rush to the neighbors for help. The police were summoned to their residence no less than 17 times from 1950 to 1955. The impact of these experiences on my life is profound. His sobriety lasted for a long time, and in 1992 he founded Little Giants, a support group. More than 15,000 children from homes like his have been able to receive the assistance they require from it. At the age of 14, Daniel realized he had to go. The neighborhood he lived in was crumbling under the weight of heroin. Because he had lost 2 childhood friends before reaching puberty, he devised a strategy. He persuaded his church priest to speak to his parents, worked diligently in school, and retained $237 from odd jobs. It was his intention to attend oratory prep school. His time was carefully managed. His father's inebriation and guilt were the only times he ever begged for their approval. Even though she had felt bad about being rejected before, his mother still agreed. His life was probably spared by that decision. Out of the 12 friends I had at that time, 12 made it to the age of 25. Only 3 of those individuals made it to their 25th year. Moreover, Danny possessed the rare genetic disorder known as Fairbanks disease. He only reached a height of 4 feet, 10 inches, but that wasn't the only problem. He suffered from chronic pain in his hips, knees, and back throughout his 20s and 30s, with pain levels that ranged from 6 to 8 on the pain scale. Despite this, he persisted, doing his own stunts and even falling 4 times while filming One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, playing the part to a T. He managed to avoid becoming dependent on painkillers, despite doctors offering them to him. In a quiet gesture, he donated over $12 million to help fund treatments for others with similar bone conditions. He never wanted attention, so he didn't put his name on the projects. Prior to his acting career, he had a job that most fans don't expect. He was a beautician. He trained for it, put in 1,500 hours, and graduated second in his class at beauty school. He worked at his sister Angela's salon, Curl Up and Dye. People would make appointments months in advance, and he even won awards for a hairstyle called the Neptune twist. He took it seriously, even though he started doing it to meet girls. One day, her husband, a theater producer, Danny, had applied to the American Academy of Dramatic Arts in 1962 with the intention of studying makeup, but they wanted him to perform a monologue instead. Despite never having done one before, he pulled it off in a scene from The Rainmaker. The Academy offered him a spot, not in makeup but in acting. He hesitated and went back to the salon for 3 days, but then the school called again with an offer of a partial scholarship. That second call changed his life. A few years later, he was livid. On one occasion, Douglas concealed the fact that he was the son of Kirk Douglas. They subsisted on spoiled bread and canned beans, and although Danny was repeatedly turned down for roles, they remained close. Eventually, years later, Douglas asked Danny to play the lead in One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, and that was the part that changed everything. The years leading up to that breakthrough were not easy for Danny in Hollywood. He tried 248 times, got 3 small jobs totaling less than $800, and had to get creative to make ends meet. He parked cars, stood motionless like a mannequin in a clothing store, and even cleaned cages at the Los Angeles Zoo for $185 an hour, reading lines to chimpanzees as a skill exercise. For a while, he lived in his old VW Beetle, took showers at the YMCA, and ate at soup kitchens. He kept this a secret for decades because Hollywood wanted to change him. Agents and producers wanted him to get plastic surgery to shorten and lengthen his legs, and some wanted him to change his face shape. One studio even offered him nearly $1 million to do it, but he turned down the offer and burned the contract in a beach bonfire. He refused to alter his appearance for the sake of stardom. His response to a casting director persisted: "I'd rather be a first-rate version of myself than a second-rate version of someone else." His initial acting jobs were low-paying and physically demanding. His first off-Broadway show was $25 per week, and he had to work overnight shifts at a printing press to cover rent. He was so down during that show that he almost quit. His first film was just over $200, and he contracted pneumonia while filming in freezing water. To save even more money, he slept in a barn. After his father became ill in 1972, Danny was unable to spend much time at home. His father's death devastated him. He considered applying for a postal job and giving up acting altogether, until the phone rang. It was about an audition for One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. Crazy enough, DeVito had already played Martini on stage years earlier, so he was ready when the casting team wasn't. The film was shot in a real mental hospital with actual patients used as extras. The intense setting allowed DeVito to bring something raw to his performance. He only had a brief but impactful 5 minutes and 52 seconds on screen, but he left a lasting impression. Despite the studio's desire for a bigger name, director Milos Forman stuck by him. The film went on to win 5 major Oscars, and although DeVito wasn't nominated, he was finally known. He read the script and knew he had to play Louis De Palma. At the audition, he stunned everyone with a full 7-minute monologue. ABC was nervous about his short stature. He was only 4 feet and 10 inches tall, but creator James L. Brooks threatened to quit if they didn't cast him. His agent warned him that transitioning from movies to TV shows was bad for his career, but DeVito followed his instincts. That was his level of faith in DeVito. Even though the salary was 40% lower than what other actors were earning, Danny signed the contract without hesitation. He didn't even ask for a rise. It ended there. He had nearly 200 unsuccessful auditions in the 3 years leading up to Taxi, all on the basis of his unusual height, unusual appearance, or uniqueness. However, his stardom skyrocketed once the show began airing. An unprecedented number of fan letters, more than 11,000, were received by him in only 8 episodes. The vile and vicious Louis was much loved by the people. Every episode, censors received 3 to 5 complaint letters solely due to Louis. Sitting alone, DeVito would jot down the names of everyone who had rejected him in preparation for each scene. Everything he felt, including fury and energy, found its way into his performance. In 1980, 93% of Americans could identify Louis De Palma simply by listening to him or seeing his likeness. Constructed specifically for Danny DeVito, his dispatch booth went on to become a legendary set in television history. The following year, DeVito took home an Emmy in addition to his Golden Globe. Everyone was taken aback. Louis De Palma wasn't your average hero or even a particularly likable character, yet he captivated everyone. The fact that DeVito was completely sidelined in the pilot made his Emmy victory all the more sweet. He finally got the trophy and he said, "Thank you. That made me so happy. Taxi is the perfect TV show to watch right now." In the annals of the Emmys, it stands as the shortest acceptance speech ever. In the same year, Danny DeVito defeated Jack Albertson, who was widely expected to take home the Golden Globe. Even among the judges, some were hesitant to nominate him. Everything changed, though, after he won. Proof that good guys can have their flaws was provided. Television was born out of that concept. NBC even extended an offer of $175,000 per episode for his own show, which is more than 11 times his salary on Taxi. He declined their offer so that he could remain a member of the cast. The meeting with Rhea Perlman occurred while DeVito was enjoying all that success. Strangely enough, she ended her relationship with DeVito by visiting his flatmate to end things. She met Danny then, and they had a 6-hour conversation that night. Their on-screen chemistry was so genuine that the producers mistakenly believed it was all an act. They hid out in Danny's cramped 450-square-foot flat for 2 weeks before moving in together. They maintained their separate dressing rooms on set even after their 1982 wedding to prevent any hint of favoritism. Their collaboration behind the scenes is something that the majority of people are unaware of. They secretly launched their production company Jersey Films in 1983. They continued filming Taxi during the week and on weekends while they worked on it. They started working together over 40 years ago and have since been in 17 projects. They even made it a rule to never go more than 2 weeks without collaborating on something creative. That same year, he landed a role in the Oscar-winning film Terms of Endearment. He pilfered footage from the 1984 film Romancing the Stone, which grossed more than $115 million with a budget of only $10 million. The Jewel of the Nile, the sequel, reunited him with Michael Douglas and Kathleen Turner. At about the same time, he landed a bit part in Johnny Dangerously to keep himself in the spotlight. As his career took off, he was smart enough to rack up more film credits. In 1986, though, he played a popular role as a vengeful husband who, following his wife's abduction, refuses to pay ransom. With a budget of $7.5 million, the film grossed over $71 million and earned Danny DeVito a Golden Globe nomination. His outlandish performance was the driving force behind the entire film. He had no fear of being despised. With that self-assurance came additional chances. The 1987 film Throw Mama from the Train was DeVito's directorial debut. He got the part after he told the producers he'd only do it if he could also direct it.
Production took place across the city of Los Angeles, and he even reached out to Brian De Palma about possibly appearing, but scheduling conflicts prevented him. Playing Mama, Anne Ramsey performed a lot of her own stunts. The bruises she sustained during surgery were no deterrent though. Using a private track in Valencia, the last train scene took 6 days to film. Reviews were positive, and the film was nominated for another Golden Globe. Twins followed, which wildly imagined DeVito and Arnold Schwarzenegger reuniting as long-lost twins. Both leads and director Ivan Reitman consented not to accept payment in advance. They would instead divide the profits evenly, 40-60. Taking that chance paid off. More than $500 million has been added to the movie's $216 million global total. They made $35 to $40 million apiece. Nobody saw DeVito the same way after seeing that film. He went from being an oddball supporting actor to the star of the show. To carry a film, he proved that height and attractiveness were irrelevant. What mattered was acting well. While all eyes were on DeVito's acting career, he was actually busy with something else. He helmed the 1984 television film The Ratings Game. Before reuniting with his Romancing the Stone co-stars for 1989's The War of the Roses, he co-directed an Amazing Stories episode with Rhea in 1986. Many people could relate to the story's brutality and humor. The term nasty divorce even entered the German lexicon. Funny, offbeat, and emotionally charged, DeVito's style stood out, and the opening credits, created by design icons Saul and Elaine Bass, confirmed the film's exceptional quality. It wasn't only successful, it demonstrated DeVito's ability to maintain concentration while acting and directing. After that, in 1992, he underwent a radical transformation to portray the Penguin in Tim Burton's Batman Returns. For hours he sat in makeup, transforming into the sinister villain Oswald Cobblepot. The performance by Danny DeVito was eerie, tragic, and full of life, not just the costume. He received rave reviews from viewers and an MTV Movie Award nomination for Best Villain. He later stated that he would be open to returning to the role of the Penguin alongside Burton. However, DeVito continued. Hoffa, a serious biopic about Jimmy Hoffa, a labor leader, was also directed by him that year. Jack Nicholson was Hoffa, and Danny DeVito was both his director and co-star. He collaborated with renowned writer David Mamet to inject it with speeches, rage, and power struggles, marking a significant departure from comedies. "We are going to march and get what we came down here for." That summed up the trailer's message. DeVito was up to the challenge of handling big, tough stories. Additionally, DeVito took a different path in 1992 when he founded Jersey Films, his own production company. His partnership with Michael Shamberg, and subsequently Stacey Sher, produced one of the most prosperous independent studios of the 90s, so it wasn't all for show. DeVito's goal in life was to turn good screenplays into movies, and he accomplished just that. The industry would be forever changed by Jersey Films. They gambled a lot of money on a wild screenplay named Pulp Fiction in 1994. Something new, bizarre, and ominous had been written by Tarantino. Despite rejection from another studio, Tarantino's company was able to stay afloat thanks to Jersey Films' financial support and office space. A mere $8 million was allotted for the project. True to his word, Tarantino said the film would have the budget of $25 million. It became a classic after its October 1994 theatrical release. The 1996 film Matilda, adapted from the novel by Roald Dahl, was directed by Danny DeVito. Along with his wife Rhea Perlman, he portrayed Matilda's evil father. Not the film itself, but the events transpiring behind the scenes were what truly set it apart. The young actress Mara Wilson was coping with the cancer that had spread to her mother. The two actors, DeVito and Perlman, were very kind to her. Before Wilson's mother passed away, DeVito even brought a nearly finished version of the film to the hospital for her to see. They were like Wilson's favorite aunt and uncle, she would later remark. Unique films were being produced by Jersey Films. Man on the Moon, a biopic of Andy Kaufman, the comedian, came out in 1999. Kaufman and DeVito had previously collaborated on the film Taxi. He co-produced the picture and played the role of Kaufman's manager this time around. Even though Jim Carrey delivered a strong performance as Kaufman, the film bombed at the box office. But DeVito stuck by the film because the story was more important to him than the box office. A rare bone disorder called Fairbanks disease caused constant pain for DeVito, and he was hiding this painful secret during all of this success. He underwent a series of surgeries, but the agony persisted. He persisted through the pain of standing because Hollywood had warned him not to show weakness for fear of losing jobs. After much silence, he broke his silence in 2025 regarding his illness. In his and other people's lives, he hoped doctors would give it serious consideration. The Beverly Hills house that DeVito and Perlman had owned since 1994 was sold in 2015 by the actors. Large features included a wine cellar, exercise room, art studio, 2 pools, and 14,579 square feet spread across 2 acres. The place was complete. Their 3 children, Jake, Lucy, and Grace, had all grown up by that point, so the sale marked more than just a financial transaction. It signified the conclusion of a chapter in their family's history. While filming It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia in 2006, DeVito became a cast member. The network initially passed on him. His fame made him unpopular, but show creator Rob McElhenney persisted in getting him on, and it paid off. The increase in ratings was 227%. In spite of earning 10 times as much during his prime, DeVito only received $70,000 per episode. Playing Frank Reynolds had become his most famous role by 2010. When it came to making people laugh, DeVito had no shame. Although it wasn't part of the original script, his 2007 naked slide across the floor while covered in hand sanitizer became an iconic moment. Wearing heavily sweat-soaked makeup, he jumped out of a couch in another episode. He persisted despite developing a rash. He went so far as to soak in sewage in 2013. He responded to the question of whether it was excessive by saying, "At my age, vanity is just another word for mischance." However, he was secretly suffering greatly. His back suffered from severe disc damage, as discovered by doctors in 2008. Nearly half of his filming days in 2010 were consumed by excruciating pain. His daily routine included 4 hours of therapy, jumping on a miniature trampoline, bathing in hot and cold water, and even hanging upside down in his trailer to reenact a water slide scene. The scene was shot in 2011, and made it into the final cut despite breaking blood vessels in his eye. It took 19 takes. After 30 years of marriage, DeVito and Perlman decided to end their marriage in 2012. The revelation that DeVito had been having an affair with a considerably younger woman while working long hours shocked everyone. They went to therapy 38 times, but nothing changed. Later on in 2013, they were once again spotted holding hands. He arranged to rent out the location where they went on their first date. They gave it another go and remained a couple for another 4 years before finally breaking up in 2017. They were able to divide their assets amicably, so they never had to go through with a divorce. Just over 1 mile separated Perlman's home and the one that DeVito purchased in 2019. They continued their monthly ritual of meeting at the same restaurant and conversing on Wednesdays and Sundays, just as they had in the past. Their son claimed that they used to text each other while watching the same Netflix shows from different homes, since they shared an account. A New Jersey hospital received $5 million from DeVito in July 2023. This particular hospital was the site of his birth. Jersey Shore University Medical Center was formerly known as Raleigh Fitkin Paul Morgan Memorial. Donating $500,000 wasn't an act. It was a method of repaying the favor. Just recently, the hospital's clinical care ranking was elevated to the top 5% nationally. An immediate need for patient care was partially met by the gift from DeVito. He received praise from Robert Garrett, CEO of Hackensack Meridian Health, for realizing the impact of generosity. Peter Cancro, who founded Jersey Mike's Subs and was an old friend of DeVito's, said that DeVito wanted to make a difference in healthcare and cared deeply about the subject. Danny DeVito has long used his celebrity status to advocate for causes such as healthcare, the environment, and politics. Although he has always been forthright about his beliefs, there are those who claim it has cost him. Rumors have been circulating, but no concrete evidence has been found. Some Hollywood insiders apparently find DeVito's candor irritating, according to a recent video. According to the same video, he was subtly cast out of several roles after he started talking about his physical condition, Fairbanks disease, a rare disorder that impacts bone growth. According to the article, he began advocating for people with disabilities and questioned why Hollywood maintains unrealistically high standards of beauty. It is even implied in the video that producers tried to convince him to undergo cosmetic surgery in order to make him look more typical. There has been no official confirmation of any of this, but it does raise the question: how much does being truthful cost in the entertainment industry? A personal mission of his has become supporting children's hospitals that treat bone disorders. Having Fairbanks disease makes daily life challenging. Arthritis, joint pain, and stiffness are the symptoms it produces. Despite the obvious anguish, DeVito allegedly kept this a secret for a long time and kept acting, directing, and producing. But recently he's begun to bring it up, not only for himself but for children who are unable to pay for treatment or who do not have an advocate. He demands more funding for studies, higher quality medical treatment, and an end to Hollywood's portrayal of only one body type, though some things have not gone according to plan. Danny DeVito was once again in the news in May of 2025. An otherwise amicable interview swiftly devolved into an angry tirade. Laughter and good times filled the first segment, but tensions quickly rose in the second. Nobody knows what started the fight, but DeVito had to bolt from the set because of how bad it got. Not to remove him, but to prevent the situation from deteriorating further, security had to intervene. Word spread like wildfire. Videos and hashtags such as "OO Danny vs Kimmel" and "OO DeVito Unleashed" could be found all over the place. Many people spoke highly of it. Some lauded him for it, seeing it as an unusually genuine moment in an otherwise scripted and staged world. Not everyone was pleasant. They claimed he was acting in an unprofessional manner and referred to it as a meltdown. When additional comedians joined in, the argument became much more strident. He was defended by Bill Burr, who said that actors are frequently overworked. On their shows, Stephen Colbert and Seth Meyers poked fun at the entire situation. This went from being an uncomfortable interview to a major cultural phenomenon all of a sudden. It wasn't long before DeVito spoke up. "I stand by everything I said. Sometimes the truth isn't easy to hear, especially under the lights," he wrote in an open and honest message he shared online a few days later. The post only fueled the fire. Reports started coming out that some of his upcoming appearances had been canceled or postponed. No official word, but whispers of a quiet blacklisting began to spread. Jimmy Kimmel, trying to smooth things over, made a statement of his own. "Danny is a person of great respect. On a future occasion, I pray this brings us joy." Already the damage or the fame had been done. The commotion surrounding Danny DeVito has not dissipated. His work and creations continue. Currently he's 79 years old and working on a sports documentary series for Amazon Prime Video. Jake and Lucy, his children, are also involved, and according to DeVito, he's a peculiar type of sports fan. He defies categorization, which is why he has fans. Season 2 of It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia premiered in 2005, and he has been playing the role of Frank Reynolds ever since. Before DeVito came on board, the show was struggling, but after he did, everything was fine. As a result of his eccentric enthusiasm and impeccable timing, it became a beloved classic. Even after nearly 2 decades, he's still planning, screaming, and jumping out of chairs, and everyone loves him.